Hello, and welcome to the Leap to Success podcast, where we highlight incredible women entrepreneurs who are taking bold leaps in business and life. I'm your host, Mary Gaul, and I believe that success is built through connection, contribution, and celebration. Each episode, we bring you inspiring stories, expert insights, and actionable strategies to help you grow and thrive as an entrepreneur. So let's dive into today's conversation. Today, I am so excited to introduce you to our guest today, our special guest. She is one of the founders of Giving Joy. Her name is Joy Kolin, and I can't wait for her to share all about what she does through her organization because it's really, really powerful. So, Joy, welcome to the Leap to Success podcast.
Hi, Mary. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm super excited.
Yes, I'm just so excited for our listeners to be able to hear your message and be able to help make an impact with what you're doing. So let's just dive in. Tell us about Giving Joy, how you kind of came about to found that and what you do.
Okay, so Giving Joy is not a business. It's a nonprofit organization.
Mm-hmm.
And I started it in, now it seems like forever, but it was late 2018. And I started it. So my background, let me back up a little bit. So my background is actually in international development, which means that I was managing large, mostly US government funded projects that help other countries with democracy and governance, healthcare, and peace and conflict mitigation. And so I lived many years overseas, and that was my career for the past 20 years. But there was something always there. So I had a lot of, I got a lot of pleasure out of working in that field. I mean, you don't work in international development for the money, you work to make a difference, to help people, right?
Yeah.
And I really appreciated it, but there was always something a little bit missing for me. And, the projects that I was managing were great, but they were like more helping on the systemic level, because they were large projects, multi-year, multi-million-dollar projects that really, I didn't feel that they made changes for the individual person. It didn't, to me at least, trickle down. It did have impact, of course, but for me, I was like, why can't I feel that this is helping like a woman per se? Like, and for me, I come from a family that I had a very dominant mother and grandmothers and women get stuff done.
Yes,
That
we
was
do.
really,
Yes.
really what I've experienced. And at the same time, we get things done, but we're also blocked many, many times. And I've seen that again and again and again, and not just in countries that have, different cultures and whatnot, but here in the United States too. And I've experienced it as well. And so, for the longest time, I was like, is there something I can do? And I'm just little old me. I'm not like Melinda Gates or anything, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm not a millionaire or anything. So for about 2 years, with my day job, I kind of was working in different countries, and I took that opportunity to ask women from like different sectors, different ages and all that, what they need. Like what are you missing? Like if you could have something, what would help you? And hands down, they all said, we need a little capital to either, and not much, but sometimes you just need like a little capital to kind of boost yourself, to as a stepping stone for your business or nonprofit, or to provide more services to your community. And also, it's kind of a token of someone believes in you as well.
Yes.
And so I started thinking, and hands down, all these women who were very different from each other said exactly the same thing. And I was like, okay, there's something here. So I said, you know what? Okay, let me just start something and let's see.
Yeah.
So I said, okay. So I started giving Joy, and I'm Joy. So and kind of thinking about this idea of micro grants. And
Nice.
so a one-time micro grant of $500 to really serve as that kind of boost. But that grant is not just for, someone to buy, I don't know, more yarn for their business or something. What they have to propose has to have what we call the multiplier effect, which means
Nice.
whatever you're doing, it has to have multiple impact on your families, communities, and other women. So that's kind of how it started. And I had no idea, Mary, like how it would go. I put in my own money, and then I'm like, okay, let's see. I don't know. And at first, nobody applied. And it was
Oh,
so interesting. Nobody applied for a grant. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm giving money away and nobody's applying. And it
yeah.
was so interesting because I was always on the other side. I was the implementing partner. I was the one that was writing grants and going
Right.
after donors. And now I'm the donor and applying all these lessons that I learned about what I didn't like about donors and try to do better. And like I didn't even know where to publish, like where to get, like for
Right.
people to access the grant. It was just so weird. Anyway, so slowly, like through social media and stuff like that, we gained traction. And now our last round, we had over 8,000 applications from
Wow.
70 something countries. So clearly
Wow.
there's a need there. And these are
Yes.
one-time small $500 grants, and the demand is huge. And we can only give out 5 or 6 grants around.
Okay.
So that's a big difference between
Yes.
the demand and the supply. So we are trying to. And we're very, very small but mighty.
Yes. Yes.
We're all volunteers. I'm volunteer. The board is volunteer, and we're doing this just because we really believe in this women helping women model, and
Mm-hmm.
we've seen, that this is work. This is working. These
Yeah.
micro grants. To date, we've awarded 88 and from 26 countries. And the ideas
Nice.
run the gamut. Like, for example, right now, we just awarded a new round, and one of the women is a drone pilot from Malawi, and she's
Cool.
teaching another 20 something women to be drone pilots. I'm like, oh my God, that's amazing. Like, who
Yes.
thinks
Love
of
it.
that, right? And
Yeah.
another woman in Pakistan, she's an engineer and an environmental climate specialist. And she's also going to, I think, work with like 120 girls, if I'm not mistaken, in different schools, to train them on solar power and solar
Oh,
power,
nice.
installation and stuff like that. So we're trying to have things, like we're funding things that as you can see, have like that multiplier effect, but
Mm-hmm.
also that provide women with the skills or some kind of way to actually be more sustainable economically.
Right.
um, and so that's kind of how we're trying to make this more long-term impact with
Mm-hmm.
very small grants. And that's kind of our tagline: micro grants, macro impact, global reach.
Love it. Love that. So, Joy, thank you. Thank you so much for taking that leap, right? And saying, I see a need out here. You were in that environment, so you had a lot of this international experience. Like you said, you were seeing big projects get done, but does that really trickle down to this woman needs help to start her business or grow her business or make an impact that she wants to have, right? So, thank you for taking the leap because, as you said, you could have just gone on and said, okay, I see there's a hole here, but I'm going to keep working on the bigger projects, right? And hope that it starts to trickle down. But you took the leap. So tell us about making that decision and figuring it out, right? So you had to figure out how to get the word out there. So tell us a little bit about the lessons you learned in that, and for those people that feel like, I'm just one small person. I can't make an impact, right? So give us
Yes.
some insights that you've learned.
So I thought that way too. I'm just one person. What can I do?
Mm-hmm.
But I've learned through this that we can do a lot,
Mm-hmm.
actually.
Yeah.
We really can do a lot. So I mean, look, I started giving joy, as I said, in 2018, but I still was working at my day job
Mm-hmm.
until last year.
Yeah.
So I took my time, kind of, leaping away completely from my
Yeah.
day job and still had that tether until I did that. And I think that was one of the things that I learned, that I think it was good that I did that, because I feel like if I just kind of like just left and just went with giving joy, I think it would be much more stressful for me financially.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I know it was very difficult actually balancing the two, because you're one person and you're basically working two full-time jobs,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
um but I felt that I like financially I wasn't able to leave, and I know that if I did leave I would probably be much more frantic about
Mm-hmm.
the work with giving joy. So I feel like it was good to kind of pace it a little bit. I also leveraged my day job to learn so much about giving joy, and also lessons. And also, because it was different from my day job, I did ask people at my day job about what do you think of this? What do you think of this?
Yeah.
And that really really helped me too, kind of get their advice. They also built my confidence to do this. And so that was also, again, building on all the things that I was doing for this. So I took a lot of the lessons that I learned from my day job and tried to apply them here. So I think it
Yeah.
made it easier, um, to take the leap and do it. And I did take my time. And so I think that was something that that I learned. So what was your question again?
Yes.
Sorry, I think I
I think
totally like
yes. No,
skewed.
you did it. You answered it, Joy. You did answer it. And so I think that's a great lesson for us to hear as entrepreneurs or somebody who's maybe in a corporate space and thinking about starting their own business. That's why side hustles are a thing, right? It's because
Yeah,
I think it really is a great idea. It doesn't have to be all or nothing if you're
yeah,
going to start a new business, right? Because if it is all or nothing, then there's so much pressure on that new thing you're building. And so if you can build yourself some runway where you have some economic stability, that doesn't put so much pressure on your new business that you're building or your new venture that you're starting, right? Then that
yeah,
does take some of the pressure off, and you get to learn the lessons slowly rather than everything
like
depends
under
on every
duress.
phone call, and and if something doesn't
Yeah,
go right, then it's almost catastrophic, right? So,
yeah.
so
There,
yeah.
there was there was another thing that oh, never mind. It escaped me. It'll come back.
Okay,
It'll
if
come
it
back.
comes back, that's great. But yes, I love that you have such a great need now and you're getting so many applications from women, and that you require them to have this, what did you call it? Your multiplier effect, which I think is fantastic too. So we're not just going to help one woman, but what's the reach of that woman going to have in her community? I think when we had our original talk, I think I talked to you about Heifer International, which is they deliver animals, right, and train people how to care for animals. But one of their requirements is when your animal has a calf or more chickens or goats or whatever it is, then you're required to give that to somebody else in the community and share their knowledge with them, right? Which I think that it just helps that ripple effect take shape throughout the community. So we are recording this on February 27th, 2025. And so we're coming up on March 8th of 2025 is International Women's Day. So how can women that might be listening to this ahead of time, our Leap for Ladies community or anybody else who finds the podcast, how can they help support you and these microgrants that are going to help women around the globe?
Sure. So a number of ways. Our website is givingjoygrants.org.
Great.
I recommend that everybody go and visit us. You can sign up for our newsletter, which we send out like an email once a month or something with stories about the impact, about our grantees and who they are. And so that's very informative. Second of all, on social media, where our handle is Giving Joy Grants. And we also have reels and stories as well. And I think so that's kind of the easiest thing that I ask people is just to spread the word.
Yeah.
First, to spread the word about us. And I think International Women's Day is such a good not time for us, but it's such a apropos occasion because we are
Yes.
really we're a global organization and we're celebrating women. So I think it's a twofer right there. And
Yes.
so that would be my first thing would be like just recognize us, acknowledge us, look into the stories, kind of get acquainted with us. And then the second thing, and share the love, share the joy. And the
Mm-hmm.
second thing is to donate. And we get donations from individuals. And then we also have partnered with a number of women-owned businesses. And so they have been funding us in a variety of ways. Sometimes we do giveaways with them. Sometimes we have joint campaigns. Sometimes it's a direct grant. And so it really varies. And what we do both for businesses and individuals, if you donate $500, which is a micro grant, we can name the grant after you or your business. Or you could
Nice.
do it in memory of somebody. So it could be the Mary Gaul grant. And so
Mm-hmm.
we would also, send that out in our newsletter, which is 30,000 people, and on social media and everything, basically celebrating you, Mary, and thanking you, and kind of so you also get something out of it for your business as well. And again, this is a very good example of how women can help women.
Right.
And so that has been, these business sponsorships, I think have been very, I've really enjoyed that. Actually, I've learned a lot about other women businesses. And like, for example, we are partnering with this company called Salt, SAALT, which they do period products,
Oh.
period underwear.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I had a conversation with the CEO, and it was so interesting, exactly kind of what you're doing, Mary. So it was CEO to executive director,
Yeah.
and we both learned so much from that conversation, because a lot of times when you're in like the C-suite, you don't have anybody to talk to, right?
Right. Right.
And so, she had insights about the nonprofit, and I had insights about what she was doing, especially the stuff that they're doing related to corporate social responsibility.
Nice.
And so it was just and so now we kind of have this friendship between us, because it's two women that, are heads of organizations. Hers is much larger than mine, but it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. I think so that has really given me something that I didn't expect at all from this thing,
Nice.
kind of
Yeah.
creating this network, exactly kind of what you're doing with collaborations and whatnot. And I think it's really helped me. And of course, we're building a network of women who are all the former grantees, the grant winners.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
so they are also connected. We have this Facebook group where we share things and all of that. And I think that has been very wonderful for me personally, and also for them. Um, you know, we're both getting more business acumen,
Yes.
but
Yeah.
also kind of like again a support group.
Right, right. Yes. So my three C's, I wrote a book called Vitamin C3, and it's about connect, contribute, and celebrate your way to success, right? And so that's what you're really getting at the heart of, is really let's connect with each other, and then let's contribute to each other, and then celebrate our successes, everyone's successes, right? So we're here to celebrate everyone's success. I love that you have a Facebook group, Joy, where you get to have the grant recipients be a part of that group too, so they can continue to share their story and share their impact that the grant is making in their lives. Because sometimes when we donate to a charitable organization, we might see a story occasionally, like in your newsletter, and it's like, oh, that's great. But when you're actually in a group where you're talking to people and hearing their examples and seeing the questions that they're posting, that just makes it more real and that more connected, right? So really having that connection to where our money is going and how it's making an impact in somebody's life is just, it's so important. It's such a piece that's important in when we choose to spend our money in charitable organizations, right?
So that was one thing that was very important to me, to document the impact. So in our annual report, for example, and also on the website, we were able to calculate like how many people were impacted by the grant. So last year we awarded 15 grants, and 640 women were the direct beneficiaries of the grant, meaning they either got services or training or something like that.
Yeah.
And then from that, we were able to calculate that 24,000 people were indirectly benefited
Wow.
from it. Yeah. So
Wow.
so you see, it really has that ripple effect, and it just depends. You don't even realize that until you start like putting numbers to it. And it could be,
Yeah.
we did a podcast. So how many people listen to the podcast? How many other people so you did a workshop. How many other women did you train on what you
Right.
learned? Did you go to a school? Did you, and so that's how we're able to calculate that. And that is very important to me. What you were saying about, okay, what does my grant do? And
Yes.
I feel accountable for other people's money, and I want to make sure that what we're doing has the maximum impact that it has, and that it can. And yes, it's $500, but again, with some creativity and innovation, you can do quite a lot. Even in the United States, we've given out grants.
Nice.
So it is more challenging, but I do think it's doable.
Yes, I love that. I love that. And seeing the ripple effect, right? So 15 grants affected 24,000 lives in some way, right? So
Yes.
that's just really, really powerful. And the message that you had at the beginning as well is really, I'm just one person. What kind of impact can I have in the world? And we get a little isolated as business owners, as moms, as wives of whatever community we're in, right? We get a little isolated. It's easy, especially here in the United States, to just live within our little bubbles, right?
Yes.
And not realize that if we step out of that bubble, that we can really have a big impact. And,
Absolutely. Even just helping
yeah,
one other person,
yeah,
and it could be something small, but I think we really need to change our mindset about that and say, like, we can and we should help other people. I wanted to go back to a point before, that we were talking about kind of my transition and the leap.
yeah,
And another thing that I remembered, that's why.
yeah, that's great.
another,
I love it. I love it.
another thing that I think really helped me was that, um, my day job, I wasn't passionate so much about it anymore. And I know a lot of people feel that way,
Yeah,
but having Giving Joy filled that hole that I had about the passion. And so I didn't have to get all the gratitude and all the things that you want, recognition that you want from your job,
right,
from that. So it took the pressure off my day job too, because I was like, it's just a job. And
right.
it wasn't like, oh, my whole existence is this job. And, how some, because it's like, it defines me, because I found this other thing that actually more defined me. So it
Right,
also gave me this balance a little bit. And again, going back to that transition period, that my true passion was giving joy, but life happens and you need to continue. But
right.
I was able again to balance between the two, and I think that really helped me as well. because in the
Yeah.
past I would take my job so seriously, like it was my essence, right? And that's not good for you.
Right.
Um,
Right. Yeah. Yes, I love that you brought that back up because it's something very important to us, and it can cause people to not take the leap into doing what's really going to fulfill them. And either they're concerned about, do I really have the skill set to make that work, or this is not fulfilling me here, but it's comfortable. I know what I'm doing. I have my path in front of me, right? I've built this whole career. It's my identity, and over here is the unknown, right? And so really having the courage to say, I can find joy somewhere else and still have this career that's going to pay my bills, right? Because we still have to make money, we
yeah,
still have to pay bills until the other thing takes off to the point where you can make the switch, right? So
yeah,
again, having that side hustle mentality is okay. And sometimes I think as women, we think we have to have it all figured out and we can't make the leap until this is 100% sure and certain, right? And we know that we're going to be successful over here. And so really just encouraging women to be able to take that leap and figure out a plan. If you need to keep your
yeah,
day job, keep your day job, but how can you start finding that thing that brings you joy and is going to make an impact in whatever way? And maybe it's just an impact in your neighborhood, right? So I took a class about in 2015 actually, and now I teach this class called Pinnacle Productivity, and we break down how do we spend our time, right, into categories of time and personal time. I was like, oh, that's time when I'm not working, or my kids were home at the time, so I was like, that's when I'm not, parenting, or I'm not working. That's personal time. And they're like, well, personal time is stuff that brings you joy. It fills your bucket. And I had kind of burned myself out, right? I was working, starting a new business and raising my kids and volunteering and all this stuff. And I was like, what brings me joy? I had to really think about it because I had lost that in kind of just the busyness of life, which happens, right? So I was like, I love reading books and I'm going to start a book club. And so now our book club is 9 years old in our neighborhood. So we're meeting tomorrow night for our book club, right? But it's just been such a good way to connect with our neighbors in the neighborhood, have a conversation. Yes, we might have a glass of wine too, but have a great conversation and just be connected as neighbors.
yeah,
And that brings me such joy. And so really finding what are those simple things, whether it's starting a book club or starting a nonprofit organization, right, that you can do that can make an impact on you. And by us being more joyful in our lives, that has a
yeah.
ripple effect as well,
It
right?
it really it really really does. Now,
Yeah,
I won't lie, it's not easy. It is
right.
not
It's
easy.
not.
It is not easy, and running a nonprofit is not easy, and there have been many times when I told my husband, I'm like, "Okay, I'm done. I'm done. This is
Yeah,
too hard. I'm not getting donations. Done." But
yeah,
then I give out another grant and I talk with the grantee, the woman, and I see what this is doing to her, to so many others. And I'm like, okay, I'll find a
yeah,
way. I'll find
yeah.
a way to keep it going.
Nice. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you again for all of the work that you do. Because I know that nonprofits are not an easy thing to do. And so there's a lot of work that has to happen in the background. But again, the rewards are so, so high and so rewarding that you want to keep going, right? And so thank you for all of the work and the effort that you put into it. So again, we're going to have Joy's information in the show notes. So whether you're listening on, any of your favorite podcast streaming applications, or you're watching us on YouTube, look at the show notes, go to givingjoygrants.org, anywhere, or Giving Joy Grants on any of the socials, right? And
Yep.
check out their website, check out their information. If you feel like making a donation, whether you can't do, the whole 500, it's great if you would be able to sponsor a whole grant. But if you
I
can't
mean,
do
20
that,
bucks,
any,
10, anything
yeah,
really.
yes. Yes. And what I'm going to be doing for International Women's Day is hosting a lunch. And so a portion of what you would pay for your lunch, we're going to have donated to either Girls Matter or to the Giving Joy or Giving Joy organization, Giving Joy Grants.
Oh,
So I'll be
thank
having all of
you.
the information out at the lunch, and I'm just inviting all my girlfriends to come together. We're so privileged here in the United States let's meet for lunch. Let's have a great connection, but let's also give back to women who we can have a real impact together. Just by sharing a percentage of what we spent on lunch, right? So it doesn't have
Wow,
to be
Mary, I'm
amount.
jealous.
Yes, I
I
know.
want to come to lunch
I
too.
know. Well, if you're ever in Colorado, please look me
Yes.
up, and I'd be happy to do that. And we're going to get this podcast out so it comes out before International Women's Day. So again, if you're listening around March 8th, please go and check out givingjoygrants.org so that you can really have a contribution and make an impact in our own small way. And Joy's going to take care of all the details of getting it to the right people, right? So how easy
Yes,
can it
I
be for us?
definitely will. Yes.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, well, that is about all the time we have for today's podcast. So, is there any other thing that you need to tell us about Giving Joy Grants or how to connect with you?
No, I think we covered everything. Mary, I really
Okay.
want to thank you. This has been really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, looking forward to other times where we can collaborate with you and the members of your community.
Yes, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so that, as I said, is a wrap on today's episode of the Leap to Success podcast. I hope that you found inspiration, motivation, and maybe a few golden nuggets to take with you on your journey. If you loved this conversation, be sure to subscribe on whatever streaming platform you're listening on so that you never miss an episode. If today's guest, Joy Kolin, resonated with you, then make sure and give her some love by sharing out her social media, sharing this podcast with someone that you love, and share that with your community. Remember, you can find all of the Giving Joy Grants .org information on their website, or look up Giving Joy Grants on your favorite social media platform and in the show notes wherever you're listening or watching. If you want to go deeper with other members of the Leap for Ladies community and special guests like Joy, you can join us in the Leap community, where you'll find even more resources, connections, and opportunities to show up and grow. You can visit successmagnified.com/leap for ladies to learn more. And until next time, keep taking bold leaps, contributing your gifts, and celebrating your successes. Thanks
Amen.
so much, Joy.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.